Welcome to CONTRO VETTOR, where I'll tell you what no one will ever have the courage to say about motorcycle clothing and accessories. I'll start right with the flaws, giving both subjective and objective judgments using the most accurate measurements possible. And please remember, this content is not sponsored by any company that makes the products I'll be talking about. Hi guys, welcome to CONTRO VETTOR. Maurizio, you asked why people oppose ARAI. Welcome to ARAI QUANTIC. ARAI is a historic helmet brand known for quality. Prices start at €600, often considered by those in their 30s or 40s. This is a noteworthy product. Watch for updated specs and my rating. Your Majesty. Because we know, in short, ARAI is one of the most well-known, most historic brands. One of the most renowned helmets, in short. Then, let's say that it is a product that starts to cost 600, 700, 800, 900 euros. And on average, it is a helmet that we start to imagine buying when we start to be 30, 40 years old. In short, when we have arrived a bit, then this is certainly a very interesting product that had to be housed in the rear glass. And please guys, watch the video until the end because there is the technical sheet that has been updated. And there is my personal vote. An idea that actually came from a chat with one of you, okay? However, a clarification is a must, guys. When we pick up an ARAI, aside from the downsides that I'll point out and discuss later, it's a really beautiful product. That is attention to detail, precision, a watchmaker's obsession even in the air vents. So, for us helmet enthusiasts, it's still a nice object to hold in our hands. Then, they are also good at communicating their attention to safety and details. On average, there are 5 checks done for each product during production, painting, and assembly, with 2 in the pre-processing stage. So they probably do these checks 3, 4, even 5 times. I don't know about other companies, but let's just say they're good at communicating that. So there are 27 construction phases, and it takes 18 hours to build a product. Other brands might take 17 or 16 hours, but they don't communicate that. ARAI even states it takes 18 hours, so they're really good at this. And keep in mind, it takes an ARAI technician about 3, 4, or even 5 years to become an official ARAI technician, so they have a really high level of training. Behind the construction, a helmet like this. We're at CONTRO VETTOR, so we need to discuss the downside. First, the upper ventilation is a feature behind the shield. Press or pull it upwards. There are 2 other air intakes, one for extraction, controlled by sliding it left to right. These intakes are well placed for high pressure, but airflow is weak, even with the rear extraction open. I didn't feel strong airflow, even in chilly winter conditions. You'll find offers for 680, 630, even 519 euros. Average price is 800 euros. First, upper ventilation is a feature behind the shield. Press or pull it upwards. There are 2 more air intakes, one for extraction controlled by sliding left to right. These intakes are well placed for high pressure, but little air flows through even with rear extraction open. I don't feel strong airflow, even in chilly winter conditions. Visibility, and subscribe to stay updated and support new content. Vertical visibility lags compared to competitors. ARAI focuses on protection over visibility. Keep in mind, especially with smaller bikes or when tucked in, top visibility isn't the best. Upper ventilation not very effective, but we can also understand it by looking at the width of the air vents. These are in a good place, therefore, of high pressure, but little air passes. Even if we open the rear extraction, so I do not feel a great flow. Although then, among other things, I tried it in a winter period when it is a bit cool. So you notice the passage of air. Now let's talk about visibility. What? And before we move on with this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you stay updated and help me keep creating new content. Visibility, especially in the vertical field compared to other competitors, has lagged a bit. But we know that ARAI focuses on that, saying maybe I have less visibility but more protection from potential impacts. So keep in mind that, in my opinion, especially if we use it with smaller bikes, mini GPs or similar, even with larger bikes when we're really tucked in, the visibility at the top isn't the best. It weighs about 1550 grams. Let's take a competitor. I've got it here, for example. The LS2 GP AERO Thunder, which weighs 1300 grams. We know ARAI says it's a heavy helmet, but it has to protect because Basically, there's a lot of material, a lot of EPS. The shell is very thick. In fact, I have one at home. I showcase it during my safe riding courses. A pure shell. And basically, you've seen it in some YouTube videos. It's crush proof. I mean, I can run over it, anything. It's really rigid, while the shells from other manufacturers flex more. There are different schools of thought, but it was right to point it out to you. Then, the ergonomics of the upper air intake, we said it, especially when wearing gloves. This one here, you see, operating it from top to bottom with winter gloves is really a feat. Then the fit, I have to say, ARAI has this fit that when you wear it, it's one of a kind. I mean, you really feel super protected. The helmet closes nicely like a bubble. It fits really well, but it's a wide fit. In fact, I usually wear a medium. And while I got a medium in this helmet, it's quite loose on me. I should have gone for a small. So if you're getting a Quantic, keep this in mind. Now, about the interiors and the padding, here they are. Let me show you, but I'll show them from this side too. So if you're getting a Quantic, keep this aspect in mind. Then the interiors and the padding, here they are. Let me show you. And I'll show them from this side too. Here are the interiors. So, beautiful. From a certain point of view, not from others. Let's take an old ARAI of mine that is now 20 years old. Look, they have practically remained almost the same. The sponges have probably been changed, but the fabrics are the same. Finish. Look at the lower part. It's practically the same. So in this case, they could have definitely stuck to safety, keeping the same shell, the same shape, not having, let's say, the super rounded shape of ARAI, not having protrusions or long rear fins. That's fine. But the interiors could be changed a bit. Then, what I've noticed is that the rubber on the lower parts, you see, it's a bit vintage. It marks easily. And probably over time it could wear out. The rubbers from back in the day, from this model year, and even earlier, would actually become brittle and fall apart. This one seems a bit softer, but still, it's a big question mark. Next, visor lock. So the visor lock is a bit unique. We find it on the left side to close it. So to achieve maximum locking, we need to press it. Let's see if I can do this. I have to press the visor, you see. Press and push it down a bit. It locks. Then to lock it, I just have to pull it up. You need to get the hang of it. It's not that straightforward, but in the end, we manage. Still, in my opinion, it's a downside. Then, vortex at the temples. What do I mean by vortex at the temples? So, these air intakes in the visor really let in a lot of air, so there's a great airflow. There's not much airflow at the top, but I have to say, really pulls a lot here. But here's the downside. A vortex forms in this area. A vortex forms right here in this area. And so especially for those who, like me, wear contact lenses, it could be a bit annoying. And the last downside is the contents of the box. So, what do we find? Well, obviously the helmet. Then we have the Pinlock 120 lens. The well-known silicone that comes with all ARAIs to lubricate the visor mechanism. A user and maintenance manual with ARAI stickers, and its little bag. This one has really stayed stuck in the 80s. For example, still talking about LS2. Stepping out of the room for a moment. So we find a nice LS2 bag. And then we find a helmet backpack, along with the tear-offs, the Pinlock lens. So really something extra. So my plea to ARAI is to include a bit more in the box. And we come to the pro of the ARAI Quantic. First of all, we've mentioned it, the feeling of protection. When I wear an ARAI, I really feel completely protected, enclosed. I only find this feeling with ARAI. And let's start right away with a concept related to safety. 2 EPS shells, one outer and one inner. The outer one is stiffer and dissipates energy, while the inner one is softer. Here's another very interesting thing. Let's see if you can see inside. The EPS is made in one single piece. This is a feature of ARAI's. We don't have different pieces assembled, but it's really particularity for safety. Then the interiors are removable. Let's go over here. I can remove my inner ear pad and wash it. We can install different thickness foams to perfect the fit. The interiors are interchangeable, allowing for more thickness options. It's clearly marked 30mm right, so I know. And then we also have the option to install different thickness foams to improve and perfect the fit. The interiors, as we said, are interchangeable, so I can choose to have more thickness, high plus, and then, look, it's written very clearly, 30mm right, so I already know. Which foam should I buy to get a different fit? Another thing outside the box is you can find them here. Anyway, they're well made. Look at this nice little foam that can be removed. It's 50mm. Next, the ventilation of the chin guard. Another pro, guys, is that the chin guard, unlike the top part, really pulls in a lot of air. So it's definitely a nice advantage, especially when I'm using it on the track and need good ventilation and more airflow, especially around the mouth. Then there's the ventilation of the visor, as we mentioned. It might be a bit tricky to operate, but it lets in a lot of air right from here, creating that vortex. I mentioned earlier, the helmet is well balanced, so it's definitely a plus. It doesn't have any aerodynamic noise, so whether the air vents are closed or open, there's no aerodynamic noise at all, which is definitely a nice advantage. The visor release has definitely improved compared to the old ARAI helmets. Remember that? It was really mind-blowing. Technicians make it look easy, but you might break something trying it. Press the helmet's back and the flap comes off. The visor is easy to remove and reattach. ARAI's design minimizes protrusions for safety. The flap stays attached. Repositioning is simple. This is a big improvement for ARAI. The helmet's precision makes it enjoyable to use. Replace helmets every few years for safety. Just press and it closes right up. Look, it's already done. That's definitely a nice plus. Then we have a mechanism that, always thinking about safety, is really non-intrusive and super smooth, because ARAI, as we know, aims for a shell with as few protrusions as possible so that in case of a fall, it can roll. And in this case, that's definitely a plus. Look, I'll do it again from this side. The flap comes off. See, it stays attached. We've seen some riders who have had this happen. At least they didn't lose it. You can see it in some videos on Instagram. And to reposition it, look, you just do this and it's already nicely in place. It's a bit of an awkward position, but look, it's already closed. So really, good. A big step forward for ARAI. Then the last thing is the meticulousness. I mentioned it before, but let's repeat it. The meticulousness of precision, the fitting of the details. It's really a nice helmet to have in your hands, but also, of course, to wear, because we know that helmets need to be worn, replaced every 3, 4, 5 years, and strapped on tight. So aim for a quality helmet. Speaking of quality, let's take a look at the liner and how it's made. Then the last thing is the obsession with precision. I mentioned it before, but let's repeat it. The obsession with the fitting of the details. It's really a nice helmet to have in your hands, but also, of course, to wear, because we know that helmets need to be worn, replaced every 3, 4, 5 years, and strapped on tight. So aim for a quality helmet. Speaking of quality, let's take a look at the liner, how it's made. This really shows obsession with detail. Why? Because we notice fewer seams. These attachments likely reduce seams, so we need to see if a seam or this fitting designed with a die cut is better. Look at the complexity and different foams. This cut probably improves comfort, avoiding fabric pool when wearing the helmet. There's a lot of attention to detail. It looks vintage, the fabric feels vintage, and the large label might be annoying. I've wrapped it up. Write and comment. Your long messages give me ideas. This cut is probably all designed to improve comfort, to avoid pulling on the fabric when I put the helmet on. So there's definitely a lot of attention to detail, even in the interiors. But as we said, it looks a bit vintage. The fabric has a vintage feel, and even this huge label might be a bit annoying. I've pretty much wrapped it up. As always, my invitation is to write and comment, but you guys are already doing great. You write long messages, and I love reading them because you give me a ton of ideas and detail. This helmet was also born from the test of this helmet came from a chat with some of you. So if you have any suggestions on which helmets to try, I'll do my best to accommodate you. I have a nice list. I'll gradually get to everyone. Make sure to write, keep following me, and subscribe to the channel, okay? And then follow me on Instagram too, but you're already doing that. Hey guys, see you soon at the CONTRO VETTOR. Only the Contros, no, even the pros. And look at them, because there are always so many. Hi!